But what if there's 5 of them, and what if they kick your head on the floor? Let's talk about common self-defense misconceptions, especially about grappling versus striking and how to apply those in self-defense. So in one of my last videos, I've talked about how and when to use grappling and striking, and why sometimes striking is the better solution. And when talking about grappling, many people are like, yeah, I don't want to roll around on the floor with him. And I'm like, neither do I. That's exactly why I learned grappling, right? So it's the dumbest excuse, the dumbest argument to say, I don't want to be on the ground. That's why I do not train ground fighting. That's like saying, I don't want to get hit in the face in a self-defense situation, so I do not train to defend getting smashed in the face. Like, man, if I do not want to get hit, I need to learn striking, okay? And if I do not want to be helpless on the floor laying around, I need to learn grappling, especially if I do not want to go to the floor at all, okay? Because the way to defend somebody taking you down is, surprise, surprise, learning how to grapple. It's surprisingly easier to grab somebody than you probably think, okay? And you cannot always just run away. Sometimes you're in an enclosed space, there's no way to run away, or you're with your family, your kids, you just cannot run away. You need to face the threat and you need to fight. And anybody can also fall down, and you need to know how to behave on the floor and how to avoid it, okay? And when I think about how to use grappling for self-defense situations, I think about how many times I used and had to use grappling when I was a bouncer. Now, some people of you might know, but I did a lot of fights, and I also worked part-time as a bouncer for about 10 years, and I had much more situations that I could not solve by the escalation than I wanted. But so I had a lot of experience with exactly that. And let me tell you what, many times it's not very good to punch somebody in the face. Again, it depends on your situation. It depends on the levels of violence. We'll talk about the 3 levels of violence in another video, okay? But this time here, it's very much symmetrical. I'm a strong man, I know how to fight, there's a threat, it's also a man, he also probably knows something about fighting. It's kind of a symmetrical situation. He's not trying to rape me or whatever, he's trying to start a fight in a club, and I'm trying to subdue him and get him out, okay? So I'm trying to have him survive as good as possible and have him stay intact as good as possible. And I have the luxury of trying to not get hurt, okay? So I do not want to punch some chunky into the face, and I don't know what sickness is in his mouth and tooth. I don't want to punch him in the mouth. And also, I don't want to have him look like a can of tomato soup, okay? Because that's gonna look real bad in front of a judge when I look beautiful as ever and he's looking like he just was run over by a truck and I'm telling them he attacked me, okay? But think about that. Okay, he's got friends. They're around, many other people. What am I gonna do? When I am trying to box him, other people can hit me. And how long does it take to box him? How long does it take to neutralize him? How big is my chance or risk to neutralize the threat in 1 or 2 or 3 punches? How high is the chance or risk of not knocking him out in the first couple punches and having to be here wide in the open with other people trying to attack me? Okay, so the general argument of like it's 5-1 and then I would like to box. How am I going to box with 5 people? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just grab him, and I'm not going to sit down with him. You know, I'm grabbing him and throwing him to the floor. Pam! And I'm still standing because I can grapple and he's on the floor. And man, I did that so many times. There's an almost 100% chance of that working, unless he's a comparable level of wrestler as I am, which is very unlikely. So I just lift him up and I throw him into the concrete, and that's the end of it. Okay? That's the end of it. There's no ground fighting. That's the end. there's no soft mats on the floor, and he's probably not trained in ukemi, in the art of falling. He's some drunk dude on cocaine trying to mess me up, and next thing he knows, his world turns black, boom, and he's hitting the concrete at 120 miles per hour, and he's shocked. And it's such a shocking experience. I look in their eyes many times. They're looking up to me like, whoa, what happened? And instantly, not only are they like concussed a bit, you know, their head hit the floor probably, and they're shocked. But it's a shocking experience of being so overwhelmed. Okay, it mostly just takes away their fighting spirit in that very second. So if you get hit, you're like, and you hit back, and you get hit, and you hit back. But if you just get lifted off the floor and puff, and you lay there, and you look up to the dude who just lifted you off the floor and smashed you to it like a baby. So ever rarely does anybody even try to move or do whatever. And most other guys don't as well, okay? So punching them and he's punching me is kind of motivating to his dudes, you know, and they're trying to hit me as well. But seeing one of them just taking a free ride to the shithole is very not motivating to them. It's very demotivating, okay? Do you want to be the next guy? Probably not. And if, again, it's probably just gonna take 1 second for me to lift you off and throw you to the floor, and that's it. Okay? So it's a very high reduction of my risk of getting punched when I'm closing the distance, holding, lifting, throwing. And that's why it's such a common and a very old strategy in fighting and in warfare with swords and stuff. It was one of the most common and successful strategies. Just make them fall, and then you stab them, right? That's why weapon wrestling was so important. And that's why grappling is so important for self-defense as a man, because it's so successful. Grab, throw, that's it. Okay? And if I'm ever on the floor, my best chance of standing up from the ground fight is knowing grappling. If I'm a boxer and somebody sits on my belly, what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna be as helpless almost as an untrained person. But if I'm an expert grappler, it's gonna take me like Pam, and I'm standing if I want to. Okay? So that's why and how valuable grappling is for self-defense, and ground fighting is for self-defense, and how you use it, and why it's throws, and why striking is not that much of the ideal solution for multiple attackers as you believe it is, and probably grappling is a much better solution for those situations than you would have thought. I know that's controversial statements. I know striking is also good and blah blah blah, all that. But still, I hope you liked it. If you got any kind of feedback or questions or completely different opinion, feel free. I'm going to try to answer them. And see you next time.